Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about KJSEA points. The topic is simple. How do KJSEA points guide school cluster placement? Now this video is for grade 9 learners. It is also for parents and guardians who want to understand about this placement. Now many learners are confused and they are asking this question, so I want to answer it in the simplest way possible. For example, if my child has high points, will they go to C1 school? If my child gets average points, does that mean they go to C2 or C3 school? What if their points were low? Does that mean they go to a C4 school? Now, I want to explain this very clearly. First, under CBC, grade 9 learners will still sit for the KJSEA. KJSEA means Kenya Junior School Education Assessment. So it is the short form, Kenya Junior School Education Assessment. So after grade 9, learners move to senior school. Senior school starts in grade 10. When moving to grade 10, learners are placed in senior schools. Now those senior schools are grouped into clusters. So you may hear people talking about C1 schools, C2, C3 and C4 schools. These clusters replaced the old way of thinking about national school, extra county school, sub-county schools, you know how the divisions were made of the schools. And instead of that, instead of saying national schools or county schools, people are now talking about clusters. But here is a very important part. Cluster placement is not only about point. It is not like it was in KCPE, where the students with higher points went to national schools. This is not the same. Points are important, yes, but they are not the only thing or the only consideration. The system also looks at the learner's pathway, because your pathway is also determining the school that you go to. It looks at, for example, the subject combinations. You may qualify for a certain national school, but the subject combination that you selected is not in that school. We are also looking at the selections of the learner, because remember that in grade 9, learners are supposed to make selections of the school they are going to join. And so all these things are being considered, including the spaces available in those schools. You may qualify to a school, yes, but is there enough space for you to join that school? You know, we are also considering the school type, the gender of the student, accommodation, special needs where needed. You know, there are so many considerations that the government is looking at, the Ministry of Education, before determining where to place you as a student. So do not think that number one alone decides everything. Now, even if you are number one, there are still other considerations that will determine the school that you go to. Now, still, that does not rule out the fact that if you have higher points, you have a better option of going to a better school. Let us start with discussing KJSEA points. Now, KJSEA uses achievement levels, and these levels are not the old ABCD system. Instead, learners get levels like, for example, and this is from PP1, we have exceeding expectation, meeting expectation, approaching expectation, and below expectation. I remember I saw this is how they are grading even the PP1. My PP1 girl, she can be graded exceeding expectation. 1, 8 points, exceeding expectation. 2, which is 7 points. So this is how the grading is done. And then each learning area is given points. For example, like I've told you, exceeding expectation 1 will be given 8 points, and then exceeding expectation 2, 7 points. So that's the lowest one, because there are 8 levels. The lowest one, which is below expectation 2, is 1 point. Now, since learners are assessed in 9 learning areas, the highest total point a learner can get is 72 points in KJSEA. Remember the KJSEA exam, when they sit for it, they are doing 9 areas. So if that learner get 888 in all the 9 areas, the highest point they can have in KJSEA is 72 points. So when people talk about KJSEA points, they are talking about the total points from the assessment or the assessed learning areas. A learner with more points has a stronger performance, of course, because it's not easy for a learner to get exceeding expectation 1 in all the 9 areas, that means they have a stronger performance, they have truly done well. Where a learner with fewer points needs more support, or maybe they are talented elsewhere, maybe they are good in technical skills. However, you need to remember this, that the points guide placement, but they do not work alone. They do guide placement, but they do not work alone. Now, let us see what that means. And to see that, we are going to talk about school clusters. I will start with C1 schools. C1 schools are usually the higher cluster. So these are the schools many people used to call the top national schools. I can take, for example, Alliance Girls, Alliance Boys. They are very competitive schools and many learners want them. So if many learners choose the same C1 school, the system will compare performance. Because if we have 10 learners and the school, if we have maybe 100 learners who want to join Starehe Boys, and Starehe Boys can only accommodate 70. So they have to look at the performance to determine who are the 70 will go to Starehe Boys, and then the other 30 can go to other schools. Now, learners with stronger points have a better chance, of course, because if we have many students who want to join the same school, they have the same qualification. The only thing that is going to help us differentiate is the points, those with stronger points to get a better chance. Now, even the high points, so that means that even with high points, placement is not guaranteed, because if a student has let's say 70 points, that is still very good. 70 points, even 68, 65, those are very good points. But let's say we have other learners with all the points 72. That means although you have high points which are 70, the one who has 71, 72 points has a better chance than you. So yes, even high points do not guarantee placement. This is because spaces are limited. Also, the learner must have chosen a pathway and subject combination that the school offers. For example, if I want to go to Maryhill, if I want to go to that school, I have to make sure that the subject combinations I choose are offered in that school. And for another example is, if a learner wants STEM, the school must offer the right STEM combination. If I choose the pure sciences track, that means that I will choose the subjects that are within that track. And then the subject combinations will determine the school I will go to, because I will not be placed in a school that does not offer those combinations. Now, if the school does not offer that combination, the learner may not be placed there. That is why we are saying that even if you have higher points, that does not automatically mean you are going to a certain school. Then we have C2 schools, which are also very strong schools, and they may include schools that were formerly extra-county schools or strong regional schools. There were very many of them and very wonderful schools. They also receive many applications. Yes, many students still want to go there, and a learner with good points may be placed in C2 schools if there is space and the pathway matches what that school is offering. Then we have C3 schools, which are also important, and they may serve learners with counties or wider local areas. So within one county, learners can be placed in those C3 schools, or maybe in a local area, maybe the constituency. So many learners can still do well in C3 schools, so do not look down on them. Actually, with the right attitude, and in the CBC system, any learner can shine in any school. A good learner can succeed in any serious school. That is what I believe. Even C4 schools, C4 schools are also part of the senior school system, and some may be day schools. Most of them are day schools. The ones that are close to home, they were considered not so good. But with even those schools, when the right investment is made by the government especially, and the schools are given the right equipment, students in those schools under CBC are still going to perform well, and they can help learners who need support. We have learners who want to learn, yes, but they don't have a lot of finances, so they want to learn with lower cost. We have others who want easy access, so they'll just go to a school which is close to their home, and that is why these C4 schools are also very important. So parents should not shame a learner because of the cluster. No, as long as the learner has completed their senior school, they have a chance to go to the as long as the learner has completed their grade 9, they have a chance to go to a good senior school, any senior school, and as long as they have the right attitude, they are going to do well. A cluster is therefore not the end of life. It is only a school category, and we can look at how those points now. You see, we have talked about the C1, C2, C3, and C4 schools, but how are these points used to guide placement? Because we have these 4 categories, but how are the KJSEA points used to guide placement? Who will be placed where? Now think of it like this. The learner first chooses a pathway. For example, this learner has chosen STEM, or social sciences, or arts and sports science. Then the learner chooses subject combinations. And then the learner chooses a school that is offering that combination. So the learner started by choosing a pathway. Let's say they chose STEM. Then they chose the pure sciences track. Then in pure sciences track, maybe they chose the biology, chemistry, and mathematics, those 3 subjects, if the combination is there. Now, that placement will be done based on that, the pathway that you chose, the track, and the subject combinations, because placement is done based on that. If many learners chose the same school, the system will use performance to rank them, like the way I have given you an example of 100 students. Let's say we have 100 students, again the example, who have chosen the STEM pathway, and in this STEM pathway, they have chosen pure sciences to do chemistry, biology, and mathematics. And then all of them have applied to go to Alliance Girls. So Alliance Girls, let's say it has a capacity of only 70 students. So they are going to choose 70 students based on who did better. So that is where performance come in. Therefore, higher points give a better chance. But the learner must also fit the pathway and the subject combination. This is why some learners have good points but still miss a certain school. Maybe the school was full, or maybe the school did not offer the selected combination, or maybe the learner with the higher points chose the same school. Another learner with higher points than these students chose the same school. In another scenario, maybe the learner choices were too narrow. The school can be offering broad things and the choices are narrow, so that is also another consideration. If the school that the learner chooses is very competitive, that means their chances of going to that school will be lower. Let me give another simple example. Suppose a learner has higher points and chooses a popular C1 school. Many other learners also choose that same school. So if the school has limited spaces, not everyone can be placed there. So the system will look at the strongest applicants for that school and that pathway. So high points do help. They do help, but that does not promise that you must get the school. Let us look at another example. If a learner has average points, then they choose schools wisely. By wisely, I mean they mix, they choose C1, C2, C3, and C4 schools. This means that they have a better chance because the schools they choose may offer different pathways and they offer different subject combinations. So the learner may have a better chance of getting a suitable school based on their subject combination. And why? This is because their choices are balanced. That means that if they don't qualify for this one, they will qualify for another one, So it is very important for a student to look at the schools they are choosing. Apart from making sure that you select the right pathway, it is also important to make sure that you select the right school and also the right subject combination, and a school which is offering those subject combinations. It can be very problematic if you choose schools that do not offer the combination that you selected, because you will not be placed anywhere. You see, you have to be placed in a school that has the combinations that you choose. And also remember that the points are not everything, but they do matter. The subject combination also matters. So parents must understand this very well, that the points the learner has matter, their subject combination matters, and the schools they selected do matter a lot. So when making that decision in grade 9, be very wise. So do not only ask, how many points did my child get? You also need to ask, which pathway did my child choose? You know, which subject combination did they choose? Which schools offer that combination, and did they select those schools? You see, was the list of schools we selected balanced, such that if they don't get a chance in C1 school, they can go to a C2 school? Those are all very important points to consider, and this is how you make a better choice. Another thing we learned from the last placement is this: many parents were shocked, you see, and this is because some expected their children to be placed only based on high marks. But under CBC, that is not the case. Placement is more than marks. It is about performance and pathway. You see, how did they perform? What are their capabilities? Which pathway did they choose? It is also about the available space, because even if they have a good performance and the space is not much, then they might be placed in a C2 school unless they have a perfect score. This is why a learner may perform well in one area, but the system may recommend another pathway. For example, a learner may love STEM, but their strongest performance may be in arts and sports. Now, this does not mean that the learner is weak. You see, it only means that the system has noticed where the learner is stronger are subjects that are related to arts and sports. Now, as a parent, you should not panic, you know. You just need to discuss with the teachers. It is good to discuss and check the capabilities of your child. You know, you can look at the learner's interest and ability. You can talk about what they enjoy doing. Talk about that with your child, and then you'll be able to determine whether the pathway that you have chosen is the right one, because you can't make a mistake here. As a parent, don't make a mistake of forcing your child to choose the wrong pathway. I want to address a few mistakes, very common mistakes that parents make when it comes to KJSEA, or the assumptions made when it comes to KJSEA. So the first one, some people on social media share fixed point ranges. You know, they may say that certain numbers must go to C1. For example, if they tell you if you have 68 and above points, you are going to C1. And maybe if you have 64 and above, you are going to C2. That is not accurate. Be very careful with such claims. It might disappoint you. Unless it comes from the Ministry of Education and they give the official cut-off points, do not treat social media numbers as final, because only the Ministry of Education can give us the correct numbers. Again, placement can change from one year to another. We saw the placements done so far, not many. So there are many changes that are still happening under CBC. I remember at one point when we were in a parents meeting, and the deputy was telling us that they have a lot of dead stock in books because of the changes that are being made. You see, the system is still a little bit new, so the changes that are happening now and then are many, because when they realize there is a mistake here, they have to correct it. So realize that things can change from one year to another, and you need to know what has changed. If you are a parent and you have children who are in school, you need to know what has changed. And if you are a teacher, of course, you have to know what has changed. It is also important to make sure that you check learner performance, check the number of spaces available in different schools, check the pathway that the learner is interested in, the schools they are selecting, all those things. Do not depend on social media posts, by the way, when it comes to pathways, schools and anything. You just need to depend on the information coming from the Ministry of Education. And in the videos that we make in this channel, we use the Ministry of Education information as the primary source of information to make sure that what we are telling you has a lot of accuracy, so that this information can be dependable. And if there are any changes, we will be sure to update you. So it is good to use official portals. It is good to talk to teachers, and also check the updates. They are online. Check the updates from the Ministry of Education. Let me also address another question which many parents and learners are asking, that what should a parent do before placement? You know, yes, your child has done the KJSEA exam, but what should you do now? First, this is what you should do. check the learners' KJSEA results. After the results are out, check at the results. How did they perform? How many points do they have? Then understand the points and the achievement levels. Second, talk to the class teacher, maybe or the school head, whoever is involved. There are schools that have assigned teachers who are guiding learners on career. So talk with whoever teacher you are comfortable with. Ask them to explain whatever you don't understand, because the teachers have a better understanding. And then check the pathway. Once the results are out, you need to check the pathway that is best for that learner. For example, based on their performance, you can determine, are they stronger in STEM or social sciences or arts and sports. That exam can also help you to determine. Then next, check at the schools. Once you choose the pathway, now look at the schools, because once you choose the pathway, remember you're also choosing the track and also the subject combinations. So look at the schools available which are offering what you have selected, and then choose a school which is right for your child. Don't choose it because it is famous or because it is a C1 school. Remember that we have said, with the right attitude and with the correct equipment in that school, all the required tools, that learner is going to perform well. So choose a school that offers the right pathway and the right subject combinations for your child. Also, when choosing the schools, make sure that you are balance those C schools, C1, C2, C3, all of them, because this will give the learner a better chance. Then you also need to confirm the final placement through the official ministry portal, because once the placement is done, you are going to be notified. Do not trust anything you see in social media or screenshots, WhatsApp, anywhere. Do not pay someone to say that they can help change placement for you. That is not possible. It is the Ministry of Education which is helping in the placement. So be careful, because they are scammers. They have always been there. Be very careful. And with that, your child is going to secure a good spot. Now, we started with this question, and it is the one I want to answer. Do KJSEA points guide school cluster placement? Yes, they do. They do, because higher points can improve the chances of placement in higher cluster schools. But points do not work alone, remember. That is what we have said. That the final placement also depends on pathway, subject combination, school choice, school capacity, and other official placement rules. Now, a parent should not use points alone to judge the child, you see, because a child is more than points. A child may have talents. A child may have a strong pathway. I heard someone saying that an exam should not determine who you are. Nobody can use an exam to test your strengths. Nobody can use an exam to test the strengths of your child. So this exam, yes, is important and it is going to be a guide, but do not use it to judge a child or to judge their destiny, because what they have inside of them could be much bigger and much better than what is reflected in those results. A child may still succeed, in C2, C3, C4 school. So give them a chance, because that is what CBC is about. It is about helping the child develop their skill, and through that skill, through their talent and abilities, that they can get the skills necessary to sharpen their talent and their abilities, so that they can become important people in the society. It also matters whether the school offers the right subjects, So the school that the learner is going to, whether it is a C4, C1, whichever school, do they offer the right subjects? Do they have the right equipment for the child? For example, if it is arts and sports, is there a field where the learner can go and practice? Maybe it is football. Are there other learners who are also in those subjects who can help this learner to practice? There are so many considerations to make, you see. So if, for example, a learner wants to go and do sports, and in C1 schools they don't have many learners who are taking the same sport, this child can be placed in another school where they can interact with other learners who are also interested in that sport, and that is going to help them become more competitive and become better. Therefore, as a parent and a teacher, no matter the points that a student has, do not shame them. They still have a future. That is why we have CBC. Just help them to choose a school where they can grow. because CBC is not about ranking children. The exams are ranking them, but that is not what it is about. The exams are to help know where they can be placed. But CBC is about helping learners build skills. It is about helping learners to grow in their strengths. It is about preparing learners for their future. So when you see KJSEA points, use them as a guide and not to judge the learner. So it is not a final judgment for a child's life, It is just a guide to show where they can be placed and the cluster school that they can go to. If this video was helpful to you, please like it, subscribe to our channel, and share it with a grade 9 parent or a learner who may need to hear this information. Thank you so much for watching. Stay blessed and see you in the next video.